I wanted to make this video about, if you remember, those who are probably 40 and above, 50 or above, those who grew up in the 60s and 70s. We remember the Cold War. We remember the fear of nuclear war. And we would have drills where we would hide under our desk at school, as if that was going to do anything. But back then, there was always a kind of a unspoken, strange kind of a feeling about the year 1999. And that kind of, it was kind of understood that if you said 1999, that you meant the end of the world. And so it's just funny how in our collective consciousness, the year 1999 represented the end. Because for some reason, we realized that once we went from the 20th century to the 21st century, that things were going to get much worse. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So now the new millennium didn't start until 2001. But the song, if you ever listen to Prince's 1999, his song, that's exactly what that song is about. And if you never heard it, or if you're someone who's young, maybe you don't know about Prince or anything, you could listen to that song and look at the lyrics. That's what he's singing about. And he says, 1999, the party's over, out of time. That's it. And for Prince, he only lived a few more years, and he's now gone. So why I bring this up is the defining event of 2001 and the new millennium here was 9/11 of 2001. And so we have one of two things going, and everything that's happened since, which is, 9/11, terrorist attacks, natural disasters. We lost our freedom. We have, in this last election, people who are not for free speech. They're not for the First Amendment. They're not for the Second Amendment. They're not for any of the amendments. They're not for the Constitution. And it was like a trigger had been like a light switch flipped, and the countdown was on. Because the craziness of the left, and since in the new millennium, has gone completely insane. So we have one of two things going. We now know, we've all heard the comment that ignorance is bliss. And I'm telling you, that's true. Because the flip side of that is, if you know a lot, it's terrible, because you find a lot of bad stuff. And so I really wish I didn't know things. Again, I kind of wish that I could go back in time and just be nice and ignorant and having fun and not know anything. But there's two things that's going on. We have the people that are in power across this world, including our own government. A lot of those people are pedophiles. A lot of those people are Luciferians. They worship Satan. Now, that used to be something you would say as kind of I don't know. You didn't say it in a really serious way, but it's literal now that it's come out. Now, they've been doing that the whole time, but just now it's come out. We do have, in this country and around the world, group of, and these are the people at the highest levels. They are Luciferian. They worship Satan, and that's how they got to where they are. I'm sure they sold their souls, and this stuff is real. Okay, so the original video got cut off, and so that's why I'm going to have to edit it and try to keep going. So I was making the first video, and I looked over and it says, "Do you want to continue?" And I said, "Well, yeah. Why would you?" I don't understand why it shut off. Do I want to continue? Well, yeah, I'll continue until I turn it off. Anyway, technology's a pain. But what I was saying is about what has been put in motion, what happened in Saudi Arabia with a lot of very wealthy people being stripped of their power. You know, on August 21st, 2017 was the solar eclipse. September 23rd, 2017, I believe that's the right date, it was speculated whether the Revelation 12 sign was going to happen at that time. And if you're not familiar with the Revelation 12 sign, get your Bible and go to the book of Revelation and go to chapter 12 and start to read. And it explains the sign. Now, when you read it, what it seems to be explaining is in the stars, you know, what they're talking about is being represented by the stars. And if you really want a good explanation of it, there's a guy named Scott Clark, and his last name is Clarke, I believe. There's the E on the end. And he's just a super nice guy and a tremendous God-loving person. And he really studied that sign for quite a while. And he was trying to figure out, and he believed that date was when the Revelation 12 sign, which is a prophecy, came to pass. And so if you're interested in that, you should look that up. It's very, very interesting. He's on YouTube. You can find his stuff on YouTube, and he lays it all out much better than I can. I can't do it like he does. So, but what my point is that first we had the eclipse, and then we had what was possibly the Revelation 12 sign, which was prophecy. And then, if you remember right out of that, that's when the hurricanes hit. They hit Texas, they hit Florida, and they just completely destroyed Puerto Rico. And then there is so many things, if you pay attention. Earthquakes are happening a lot. All the things, and again, if you read the book of Revelation, this is all predicted. Okay, this is all prophecy, and then it says that these things are going to happen. Now, a lot of times, like wars and rumors of wars, that can apply to a lot of different times because mankind is a very violent thing. But there is a lot of stuff that can only be applied to now because, as far as we know, there's never been any technology to allow the things that need to come to pass. Okay? And so, one government that rules the world. Okay, that's never happened in history. But that's prophesied to happen. And I believe it will happen because I believe the Bible and I believe prophecy. Okay? That wasn't possible before, but with the technology we have now, with the surveillance and that's possible. That's now possible. You could do it to the whole world. And things like the mark of the beast, If you don't have the mark, you can't buy or sell. Okay, so, and the mark will be either on the forehead or the right hand. Now, any other time in history, that wouldn't make any sense, because how could you do that? But in the 21st century, that makes sense, because we can do that. We have things such as RFIDs, and we've had UPC scanners since probably the 80s. And there's technology that we don't know about. Usually the government is probably about 50 years, 40, 50 years more advanced than what they let on. So yeah, they got free energy, and yeah, they have flying cars, and yeah, all that stuff. You just don't know about it yet, because they keep it back for usually weapons and things that they don't want people to know about. A lot of times when you see UFOs, it's actually just our really advanced aircraft. But I'm getting off the subject. So the point of all this is that the future's laid out. You don't have to guess as to what it is. God has already given you a map of what's going to happen, so you can be prepared, what you should do so that you will be okay. You may lose your life, but you won't lose your soul, and that's the only thing that matters. We're all going to die. Well, I should preface that. Some will never die. God said that. Those who can make it through the tribulation, if you can make it through and you do not lose your life here on earth. And when Jesus comes back and establishes his rule, he'll rule from Jerusalem. You will, and of course, if you pass judgment, you can't be, an elite pedophile and expect to live forever. If you're good, you never have to die. So that's all I'm saying, is don't be worried, don't be afraid. Read your Bible. This is actually good news. I know it sounds really dark, and it's going to get dark, but then it's going to get light. And when it gets light, it's going to be amazing. So keep your chin up.